Welcome to Digital Delights from CyberKnight, Chapter 3. My name is Avinash Advani. I'm the founder and CEO here at CyberKnight, and I'm here with Mr. Amjad Aldari, who is the Regional Sales Manager at Arista Networks. I think everybody knows Arista, and thank you for joining us today, Amjad. So today during our session, we're going to talk about one of the most trending topics that has been going on for the last few years, ransomware and ransomware protection. Now, we know that, ransomware is very common these days, but it's still very scary. Every day we hear about new types of ransomware coming out. Now, a little while ago, Gartner came up with this concept called the SOC nuclear triad. Have you heard about it? Yes. So they outlined the components, right, that were required to cover the visibility gaps in the SOC. And this would allow you to detect ransomware at an early stage, before it can actually cause any damage. Now, when you look at each piece of this triad or each component, SIM, NDR, and EDR, right? Or for the audience, security, incident, event management, network detection and response, and endpoint detection and response. Now, each of them provide their own security features, but holistically, the triad uses the strength together to be able to mitigate, right, the weaknesses of each of the solutions independently. Now, Amjad, from your point of view, right, NDR and XDR and all these buzzwords are pretty common these days, right? How do you define NDR in the context of security, and why is it so important? And I want to understand from you, what do you think the benefits are around NDR to security operations, especially in the context of ransomware defense? So we'd love to hear your insights and why people should be investing in NDR.
The NDR concept by itself comes around 5-6 years ago, because to adapt for the new nature of either the data that is running on the network, or to adapt because of the challenges that the hackers are trying to do now and so on.
Sure.
If you look at any organization, we have around 50% of the devices are unmanaged. And this is where EDR will not play a good role in that area 100%. And so on. And then you see around 70% of that flow is encrypted.
Sure.
And this by itself adding a more challenge, because hackers are smart. They are no longer using like signature-based or malware-based kind of attacks. All this traffic is encrypted, so systems will not be able to detect such kind of a threat and so on. And this is where industries start knowing that I could get, taking a copy of the flow of the network, I could get more contextual data that I can be able to identify the zero trust. So it's no more people are thinking that those flows are talking about like source IP, destination IP, source MAC, destination MAC, and so on, and that's it. However, this metadata that comes along with those packets could allow companies to be able to look at those headers to identify certain threats and so on. So from the name that implies that network detection and responses mean I'm taking an offline copy of the network traffic, doing some detection based on behavior. It's no more kind of signature based or whatever, it's behavior kind of thing. So to be able to say that there is a probability that there is a zero-day attack that is going to be generated from here and so on and so on.
Makes sense.
And the challenge that people are witnessing in this side of the story is that what information I can extract from there. If you are counting on basic, let's say, basic layer 2, layer 3 data, it's not that relevant, because at the end, your devices can take multiple IPs at any single point of time and so on. So you need more profiling or more way to identify that this is still a Avinash laptop, even if you change the MAC, even if you change the IP, even if you went from a network to a network. So we need to make kind of more analytics to be able to identify that it is all those events are related to Avinash and so on.
So this is where the AI element probably comes into play, right? Because as you know, right now the world is going through ChatGPT fever, right? It's like, the large language models have captured the world's interest. And everyone's talking about ChatGPT and the different AI models coming out from the different large organizations. Now, we know that this has been happening over the last year, and we're expecting this to continue going forward. And there's a lot of different people talking about the pros and the cons of AI. But as with any emerging technology, right, especially in the context of cybersecurity, there's always a concern around what AI means for cybersecurity itself. Now, from your point of view, just to kind of take a slightly sidestep approach, do you think AI is a curse or a blessing for security?
I think a human being by nature wants something that will help him to shed light on the new areas or to do something that is fast and so on. And people are looking at the positiveness of AI, which is impressive. Like when you look at the ChatGPT, you are looking at the positive potential that this product can bring and so on. However, how much we can trust, yeah? And this is where if you look at, for example, around a week ago or 2 weeks ago, Europe start imposing or founding some entities to start regulating the AI, sure, because you cannot just leave it open. Sure. In the same way, we are looking at, let's say, 100% positiveness. There is around another 20-30% negativeness that people are still not able to think that this can happen or this cannot happen and so on. Yes, regulation will dictate, will impose kind of challenges on innovation. Agree, but the consequence is huge for if this is not being regulated. Yeah, so this is the trade-off that I think all the technology is witnessing, is that yes, we want to achieve more, but we need to quantify the opportunity cost of risk that will be imposed by adapting AI blindly or massively and so on and so forth.
It's a very, very good point. Now, based on your expertise though, Amjad, looking at AI in the context of cybersecurity, right? And how we can leverage on it when it comes to detection and response to suspicious or malicious activity. How do you see the role of AI, building on top of these ML, machine learning kind of models to support accelerated rapid detections in the future?
In terms of the cybersecurity, I feel sorry, honestly, for many of the security people that are in the domain, especially decision makers, because AI had been misused as a buzzword. Yeah, so people are saying like, I just want to enable AI, or the companies will start saying we are AI powered and so on. But you need to go back to the roots. Yeah, at the end, whatever engine you are having, AI or machine learning and so on, it all depends on the context that you are feeding in. At the end, you are feeding a huge context, and the AI will utilize this to be able to show you some kind of results out of it. Looking at the current networks, and you can see it from your own behavior, how much you are keeping your phone in your hand or your laptop and so on. The amount of data is huge that is running across any network and so on. Sure. There is no way that any SOC team will be able to analyze such a huge data especially with multiple systems, multiple platforms and so on. So the challenge is huge, and this is where AI plays a role. However, for the AI to give you more contextual results, you need the feed to be properly done. In the same way, if you are trying to, let's say, publish your own book, if you have 1,000 keywords, you can publish a book. However, if you have 100,000 keywords, you can publish a better book, right?
Sure.
And this is where
training the model.
Now, yes, AI is impressive. You cannot still deny the presence and importance of machine learning, either supervised or unsupervised, and so on. Because at the end, the AI needs to train itself, needs to build more context. And this is what we are witnessing in the cybersecurity. You see most of the platforms that are using AI, if the context is not that relevant, the customer is paying the false positive pay. Yeah, because you'll start seeing too many false positives start rising up. Why those came up? Because your AI is not very efficient to look at those and cleans, for example, 70 or 80%.
Interesting. I like that word you used, context, right? When you look at AI and the model, it's really about the context and the intelligence that it gains because of what you feed it. Very smart. Now, Amjad, just looking at Arista for a second, I think many people know about Arista being superior and a leader in the networking domain, right? You guys have the largest market share in 100G, 400G, and recently even 800G, right? But when it comes to cybersecurity, many are still not aware, right, of Arista's cybersecurity innovation and pioneering leadership, right? So let's talk a little bit about the other trending topic besides AI, zero trust security, right? Something very close to CyberKnight's heart. You know, the concept of zero trust is never trust, always verify. As evil as that sounds, it's particularly important in cybersecurity. Now, how do you see zero trust being important in detection of malicious activities such as ransomware attacks that we were talking about earlier? And, you know, do you see it being relevant for cybersecurity?
Until 2018, I'll say, Arista, yes, was well known to be like a data center kind of network company. However, the zero trust was as much as relevant to the data center, we were deploying it. And always Arista is like, I don't care for the market trend. I care what should benefit the customer in the long run.
Makes sense.
And we take all the right steps when we release a product or we release like a feature or whatever to test it thoroughly, because then you cannot impose too many changes that may imply outages and so on. So even if you look at our CTO, like quality is the only most important aspect in the whole development of Arista and so on. Yeah. So we are not that much saying like, because there is an opportunity here, let's compromise on quality and so on. So there's security related to the zero trust in the data center. We have been adopting this from quite some time.
Great.
We're talking about the MACsec and so on, talking about the macro segmentation services where we can integrate with firewall to impose kind of like rules and so on. So we are doing it in the context relevant to the data center space and so on.
Clear.
And some of the issues that people are witnessing, like how the CVEs and the bugs, the releases and so on, how you want to make sure your network is always compliant with the latest CVE reports and so on and so forth. So we were doing that part alone. Now in 2018, when Arista decided to go into expand their portfolio, where we acquired Mojo at that time, or Airtight, where we start seeing more security functions happening on the access point side, either from kind of, let's say, IPsec from the access point, or like firewalling from the access points, or like application security and so on.
Sure.
So we start doing this. In 2019, Arista released their access network switches.
Yep.
And here where things start getting more compelling to the zero trust, because what we did, we extended those kind of security capabilities from the data center, we extended it to the access. So we can support micro-segmentation groups on the access switches. We can support the MACsec on the access switches and so on. And recently we released our Advani product, which is think of it like a next generation NAC system and so on.
Saw that.
Because we want to carry the zero trust model from the typical data center to the access. Because the access, you know, like 65% of the threats coming from the users, right? And even to your first question related to the NDR, we managed to extend the NDR capability that all vendors in the market, they are looking at from the data center perspective to the access. So now utilizing the whole Arista portfolio, which means you can have a virtual sensor in the NDR terminology running virtually on every PoE switch across your network, LAN or WAN.
No need for any other NDR sensors.
You don't need an NDR sensor. You don't need even a hardware to capture this traffic and to send it to the same centralized nucleus or brain that doing all this correlation.
Wonderful.
And this is which will enrich the context that we are sending to that guy. In addition, we already have the packet broker layer with our DMF solution, where now if you look at it, it's multiple Lego pieces where we have the data center, access network, packet broker, NDR, Wi-Fi, and Agni. And all of them, as being Arista believe in being open, are interoperable with any vendor available in the market.
One management console.
If it is Arista, we have one management console that it can overlook all those platforms and so on. So we are getting closer with the zero trust, as much as it is relevant to the vertical that we are engaged with and so on.
Wonderful. I really like that. In summary, you know, a lot of people talk about going from the endpoint to the cloud or the endpoint to the data center. But Arista's approach is going from the data center to the access and bringing that capability all the way down from being a data center networking company and then bringing that strength all the way down to access. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Amjad Aldari, Regional Sales Manager at Arista. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Amjad, for your time today. It's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.